Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Friday. This is Seattle Now. This week, late-night TV drama overflowed into Seattle. New placards will go up at local restaurants warning patrons if there's a wage violation. And a 40-year-old Sammamish woman is one of NASA's newest astronauts. Stranger News editor Vivian McCall and film and TV critic Chase Hutchinson are here to break down the week. But first, let's get you caught up. Commuters, this one's for you. The 509 Expressway will have tolls starting Monday morning. If you stay on the expressway in SeaTac, expect to pay up to $2.40. Also, reminder, you won't be able to take 509 South this weekend. It closes tonight from 24th Street to I-5. Crews need to replace some concrete panels. If you plan to get out to one of the state parks this weekend, feel free to leave the Discover Pass in the Glovey. It's National Public Lands Day, and Washington trailheads are free. In other Discover Pass news, the price for a Discover Pass will increase from $30 to $45 Wednesday, October 1st. State lawmakers approved the price hike earlier this year. It's the first since 2011. And Seattle's citywide Art and Culture Week wraps up this Saturday. The big closing act is Walk the Block in the Central District. It's Wanawari's annual art walk across homes, businesses, and parks, featuring visual and performance art. Saturday is also the Seattle Opera costume sale. Remember to line up starting at 2 p.m. if you don't have a ticket. Check back for more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. It's Friday again, and it must be fall because UW freshmen are clogging up the sidewalks all over the University District. 5 across is too many, people. Vivian McCall is here. She's the news editor at The Stranger. Vivian, good to see you.
Howdy, good to see you too.
Nice that you're here. Chase Hutchinson is here too. He's a local film and TV critic. Chase, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad you're here. All right, you two, before we dive in, how about those M's? Oh my goodness. We won't talk for too long because we don't want to jinx anything. But for just the second time in about 1,000 years, the Mariners are headed to the playoffs. They clinched a playoff spot Tuesday night. The vibes were so high. Cal Raleigh dropped an uncensored F-bomb live on the air. Champagne was popped. Probably Costco brand, Kirkland brand. Everyone celebrated. They also won their division for the first time since 2001 on Wednesday night. Have you noticed more Mariners gear in the streets? I noticed last night on Wednesday night. The streets were packed. The energy was so strong last night.
Yeah, I have. I actually was with a couple of colleagues Tuesday night and noticed that people were wearing Mariners gear.
Yeah.
And I remarked on it, and they were like, it's easy to wear Mariners gear when the teams are doing well. It feels like a celebration as opposed to a mourning, so to speak.
You know, I don't want to take credit for this, but I'm a very good luck charm because after I moved to Tampa Bay as a child, who won? After I moved to Chicago as an adult, who won? So also as an adult, I'm not going to say it out loud because if something doesn't happen, then maybe people will be mad. But this is just something that happens to me and to all of us.
I think we need to get a fund going to send you to all of the playoff games at this point.
I need
really
to live,
commit.
Yeah, absolutely. I can actually live in every city and then everybody
will get
wins.
A chance.
Yeah.
Oh,
if everybody
amazing.
wants to fund an apartment for me, that would be really nice.
I'm glad we've sorted this out.
Yeah.
The Mariners have been on fire lately. We outlined a bit of that last week when we talked about the spell cast by an Etsy witch to make the Mariners' vibes better. They're currently projected by baseball analytics site Fangraphs as the #1 most likely team to win the World Series. I feel strange even saying that out loud. I really am serious about cursing stuff. What would happen if the Mariners won it all? Would fans go crazy and climb light poles like in Philly?
No, it's not Philadelphia. I think because the thing is that in Philadelphia, it doesn't matter what happens.
They're just going to
if
climb
somebody
the light poles.
wins, if somebody loses, if there's a car to light on fire. I lived in Philadelphia as well. Yeah, no, it just happens. And that's like a lovely thing. Here, it's more sort of antisocial dog park. And I appreciate that everyone is going to be happy alone.
The joke answer, I'll say, Cal Raleigh runs for mayor, sweeps 95%, no contest.
All right.
The serious answer, I wouldn't count it out because I watched the aftermath of the Seattle Sounders games a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And there were some excited people having some fun throwing things around. I'll just
crazy.
say that.
People were staying up past 11 p.m. This city was on fire.
I will say when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, Greek Row, smelled like alcohol. All you had to do was round the corner, and it was incredible. A couch was on fire in the center of the street. It was something. It was something. So watch your booze, people. Good luck, Mariners. All right, on to the big story of the week. The nation was locked into late-night TV drama this week after Jimmy Kimmel was temporarily pulled off the air due to pressure from the FCC. At issue was a monologue Kimmel delivered about the murder of Charlie Kirk. The backlash to Kimmel's suspension was immediate. People canceled their Disney Plus and Hulu subscriptions. People gathered outside the local ABC stations across multiple days, including here in Seattle outside KUOW 4 TV. Was Kimmel in either of your lineups? I don't really stay up late enough to watch Kimmel.
No, but he doesn't have to be, because like attacking a late night host, like these are not important shows, but they are important venues for free speech. They are sort of a canary in the coal mine situation. And we've also learned is that perhaps the most important and powerful people in this country are Disney adults, because they can bring the threat that you're not going to go to their parks, which are a huge economic engine for that company, I believe more than their media. That'll bring them to their knees. So make a friend with, for some friends of Mickey in your life and get them hooked into politics.
You said the canary in the coal mine. I think it was Jon Stewart at his Kennedy Center Awards referred to them as the banana peel in the coal mine, which I think was an appropriate way of saying it's silly. Kimmel said this himself in the speech of what he's doing is pretty ridiculous. I think we should care about many other free speech crackdowns as well. But this is a sign that if people mobilize and begin to put pressure on things, both on like a grassroots level, but then also from a top down. Speaking of Conan, he spoke out, and he doesn't really speak out about these types of things. Damon Lindelof, who's been a long time person working with ABC, he worked on Lost, seeing this as a line in the sand of, okay, we might as well draw the line now, was I think what John Oliver said on his program, because if things begin to shift in another direction, suddenly this is the point where you'll look back and say, we wish we had done something then.
And what is the role of late night? I mean, come on, let's be honest. There's a reason it's late night. You can be a little more free. And Kimmel is no stranger to political commentary. None of them are. He's hosted his show for 4 different presidents, from Bush to the second Trump administration. What is the role and the importance of stand-up comedy and holding power to account? I mean, I think of Jon Stewart and what he was able to do in his role.
And also, what else are we supposed to do in a hotel room at 11:45 at night? That is the only thing. I see it on YouTube clips occasionally, sort of against my will, and then because it's that or The Office, and I'm not interested.
There is also the thing that whether people like it or not, there was a pretty big stand-up comedy push for Trump. And this is something Mark Maron has spoken about within the podcast space of suddenly it's not that you're just like making jokes about things, but lending your voice towards supporting someone. And for now, supposedly in the world where comedy is legal again, now it certainly feels like the opposite is true. That if you cross a line, suddenly that can change.
Kimmel was reinstated Tuesday and delivered a monologue, but Seattle and other cities, Sinclair, Nexstar stations, didn't run it. They're still negotiating with ABC, so Tuesday's show was preempted by news programming. The monologue was everywhere. It wasn't hard to find. What did you think? Did you watch it?
I watched a little bit of it.
Me too.
Yeah,
I watched about 25 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Which is about as much as I would have watched Kimmel anyway.
He pointed out that it was an anti-American action. Even if you don't like Kimmel, if you don't care about late night, like you should care about that. That does matter.
Yep. We should care about his ability to say these things. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was the thesis of what he said. I had listened to it while coming back from a work thing, and it was, I'm not the most important person in this situation. It was a very humble type of self-effacing thing. He had a joke early on where they were going to wear costumes.
That was very funny,
That
by
was
the
very
way.
funny,
That
because everyone was
very
talking
funny.
it up like this was the most significant
Really
moment
broke the
in American
tension.
history. And so it was this very funny moment that was very self-effacing, very humble, but also was about this is bigger than any just one person.
Another thing Kimmel mentioned in his monologue was Seattle, of course. He said over the past week, he heard from his old boss at KUOW where he worked, and he was fired from in his 20s, which is funny. which is funny. As the story goes, Kimmel recorded private conversations with his program director, played him on the air, and made fun of the owner of the Mariners, which was a big deal at the time because it caused the team to pull $8,000 of advertising from the station, which, of course, in the commercial world is everything.
Right. That was adjusted for inflation, that was $7 billion.
That's right. Also a gross misdemeanor, Jimmy.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, did you ask permission?
And that's what makes it so funny is like even the people that didn't like Kimmel for these reasons were still like, okay, we can put our things aside. I will stand by and fight Kimmel.
Ted Cruz.
The thing I will say that is serious about Sinclair is I don't know how long they can actually continue to preempt this.
Say more.
Well, so there's this one writer I follow, Paul Farhi, and he had said, nerdy but true, a network affiliate like Sinclair can preempt a network show a limited number of times depending on the contract, but then it is in breach of its affiliate agreement and faces penalties or cancellations. So basically, this could be a short-term thing.
Interesting.
I would be curious to see how long this continues, because I think eventually they'll just say, if he's on the air, he's on the air. We can't really fight this forever, unless they really are wanting to go to the pavement for it.
All right, moving on to our next topic. If you have been to Sammamish lately, you may have passed a future astronaut on the street without even knowing it. 40-year-old Lauren Edgar is one of NASA's 10 2025 astronaut candidates. Edgar told the Seattle Times she was inspired to get into spaceflight by watching the Discovery Space Shuttle launch while attending Discovery Elementary School in Sammamish. Well, they're just building astronauts over there, it sounds like. There's a lot of careers out there. Is there anything cooler than being an astronaut? Journalist not included.
I would say 2 feet.
It's much cooler than
Journalism, the coolest, always. Never anything nerdy about journalism.
Yeah.
I would say probably having 2 feet on the ground. I like that feeling. I guess I'm just not as cool. Lauren, you're way cooler than I am. I can't fly without getting a little stressed. The idea of being up in space, you don't know when you're coming down. You don't know if it's going to depend on Elon Musk sending you up a rocket.
You had to bring Butch and Suni into this.
I know.
Yeah, because I think we kind of all moved on from those two people who were just stuck in space.
And they were so cool about it, honestly.
You'd have to be.
Where's the sitcom? That would be a great show.
Butch and Suni in space.
Yeah, but I do think that that's genuinely really cool. And one of the things that kind of surprises me about this story is that I just can't imagine becoming like it's. I didn't know that you could become an astronaut at 40. Like I had no idea.
Right?
Like maybe I'm totally off base and I just didn't know.
She's been in the biz for a long time, supporting like missions and stuff, like in a support role. But yeah, how do you just like?
I'm switching careers a little bit late,
and a physically
astronaut.
Demanding career.
It's just kind of an interesting thing because I would have thought that that's something that you have to be gunning for from, and maybe she kind of has been, and this is just one way into that. But I think it's really really cool and. An exciting thing. We should be happy about it.
Totally. NASA says Edgar and the rest of the class will complete nearly 2 years of training before becoming eligible for flight assignments, supporting future science and exploration missions, things like low Earth orbit, the moon, and even Mars. Edgar won't be the first Washingtonian up in space. Seattle native and UW graduate Richard F. Gordon Jr. orbited the moon in 1969 as part of the Apollo 12 mission. That's interesting. Washington State has actually had 8 astronauts, 4 from Seattle.
Wow.
Astronauts and serial killers.
Yeah.
We got a lot of them.
Roll of the dice.
I feel like there's going to be one science teacher at a high school that rolled out the TV cart and played the first half of Apollo 13. Everyone got very excited and they didn't watch the rest. And that's why we're seeing so many people.
Could be October Sky, too. Right?
October Sky was mine. That was my generation.
That's a good movie. And right before you became an astronaut.
Exactly.
Right.
I've learned there's still time. I can do it.
Exactly.
Isn't that amazing how inspiring that at 40 you could just turn it all around? If you could bring anything from Seattle to the moon before we move on, what would it be? Chase?
I would bring my cats, who then immediately would hate me. They would be like, this is the worst thing. We can't go anywhere. We can't stay on the ground. But they'd eventually come around.
All right.
Do you see the cat astronaut suit is sort of a full suit or more of a bubble helmet around the cat, which is naked?
It's the bubble helmet.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just, I needed the...
I appreciate that clarity.
Thank you.
Always happy to answer.
Yeah. Edgar
great.
says she's excited to be getting this training at a key time in human spaceflight. She's trying to answer big questions like whether humans can have a sustained presence working on another planet. and where and how life originated in the solar system. Well, good for you for thinking about big questions, because I'm just trying to figure out if Jimmy Kimmel's going to be back on tonight. Smaller questions.
Yeah, he's going to become an astronaut as well. This is an exciting time.
2025, what a time to be alive. All right, moving on to our next topic. You have been in this situation before. You walk up to a restaurant somewhere in the city. You see the King County Public Health rating in the window, and it says, okay. Okay, of course, is third out of the 4 ratings you can get, ranging from excellent to needs to improve. I need to ask you, how bold are you? Would you patronize an establishment with an okay? Does the safety rating play a big role in whether you try a new place?
Oh, actually, the okay rating, it's an anagram for good. Like usually, most of the time, the okay rating means that's a good restaurant because they're not focused on all this crap, like cleaning stuff up. They're making you delicious food.
They're busy.
They're busy. No, I've worked in restaurants. All of them are disgusting. I worked in restaurants for a while. I guarantee you should read Down and Out in Paris and London. Great book about how disgusting restaurants are.
So do you just, as a patron of a restaurant, accept that risk? You know what the deal is.
Oh, I find it exciting. I think it's thrilling. I'm like, good. And like, will I go somewhere with an excellent food rating? Yeah, I'll go there. But I'm not going to be nearly as excited.
It's not nearly as adventurous.
Because every time
okay.
I've gotten food poisoning before, but never at one of the okay places. Never. So that's all I'm saying.
Chase,
I was going to say, not to name any specific restaurants, but when I was in college, there was the late night spot that everyone would go to and then immediately regret it the next day, and everyone kept going back. You couldn't stop. So I feel like if you're willing to live a little dangerously, yes, you'll still go back to that place because it's part of the we're just out late at night grabbing whatever we can type of thing.
Well, soon there will be another sign letting you know how a business is run. New rules from the King County Board of Health will add a sign in restaurant windows if a business has unresolved wage violations. Some examples of labor violations include preventing or limiting the use of paid sick leave, withholding pay or underpaying, or denying worker breaks. Would this change your opinion of a restaurant?
Personally, I would pay more attention to that than I would the health rating, because I'm willing to take a bit of a gamble on a health rating, but that I'm not. That crosses a line for me. Maybe this is because I was in the service industry for a really long time, and it was really, really hard, and you take a lot of crap from people, and you take a lot of crap from your bosses, and all these unfair labor practices are everywhere. When I was reporting for WBZ during the pandemic, my main focus became restaurants, specifically because the story of restaurants was often reported as a business story when it was very, very clearly business stories with unbelievable labor violations throughout. And all the focus was on, our restaurant's going to go out of business, which is a serious thing. People could lose their jobs. Like, that was worth focusing on. But it was wild what was going on, and it still goes on. And yeah, I think it's very important. And if I saw a terrible labor rating at a restaurant, no way. I
was going to remark, not to go too far down another tangent, but there was the news today about the Starbucks closing, and that's going to impact a lot of people's jobs. But that already was a point of, hey, the workers are having some major concerns about this place, but if you're not aware of that and you aren't following the news, it might be something that you're just totally going about your day. But if there was another kind of regulatory apparatus to say, hey, there's some things that people should know about before they step into your place to have the worst coffee you've ever had, that's important.
I also think it's important. Like, some people will probably take this and be like, well, won't that just hurt the workers too if you don't patronize the business? Yes, potentially. But the point is the sword of Damocles that would hang over a business owner who would otherwise abuse their employees and steal money from them and all of these terrible things that happen all the time. Because if you've ever worked in a restaurant and you know the health inspector is coming, suddenly that place is the Navy. and you're a topman, you're scrubbing the poop deck. Like, stuff is those Sandy buckets, we're changing them out every 3 minutes. Like, it becomes really serious because they are so afraid of a bad health rating, unless, of course, they are a good restaurant. That threat to business owners and restaurant industry, it's very hard for everybody. The margins are very thin, but it's unacceptable, the amount of labor violations that go on. That's all I'm saying.
And part of the logic from the Department of Health here is that wage and labor violations go hand in hand with health violations, right? If you're not paying your workers well, it can lead to health hazards too. What does it say that we're turning to this type of rating for our restaurants?
That we're being real about the situation that we have, and we know that, like, people aren't just going to be good guys sometimes in an industry where the margins are really thin. If they know that, like, they can cut a corner here, they just might. And creating a system of accountability that is public is beneficial because it is acknowledging the world as it is.
There's also an education component to this sometimes, right? Newer business owners are not always as familiar. We can understand that a little bit. But the county says restaurants can remove the placard immediately if the business resolves the violation. So these placards are only going to be in businesses that have active violations that are not resolved. The new rules will also let the health department conduct additional inspections if a business is violating labor or wage laws. Chase, is that the Department of Health's business there?
I think, as you just said, there is this crossover where these things do often interconnect, and having another kind of means of pushing things in a better direction, I say, why not? Because as someone who's also worked at all of these types of low-wage jobs that I won't name at certain service industry places, you're often told, oh, well, we're a family here. And that's the worst possible sense you could hear, because if this is a family, this is an abusive family. We need an intermediator of some kind to come in and say, hey, so maybe we be a little bit nicer and not steal people's wages or deny them the things that they've accumulated. That's the type of thing where if it's really that simple to get it taken down, I can only see this like empowering workers without being quote unquote onerous, as is often the response to these types of things.
Yeah. Would Nathaniel Hawthorne like this? No, probably not. But he's dead. So it's fine. We can do this.
All right. Well, before we go, if you had to choose, would you rather eat at a place with a needs to improve sign or a wage labor violation sign? What would turn you away more?
Wage labor.
Violations. Yeah.
All right. That's it.
Yeah, because here's the thing. One of those, you might not be right with your stomach. You're right with the Lord. You know, like you have not made a moral error. And that is far more important to your, immortal soul, folks. So.
And we are going to leave it there. Vivian McCall is the news editor at The Stranger. Chase Hutchinson is a local film and TV critic. Thanks, Chase.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Vivian.
Thank you very much.
We really appreciate you listening to Seattle Now, and thank you for your financial support. Today's episode was produced by Vaughn Jones. It was edited by Andy Hurst. Our production team also includes Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you soon.